So it is all the rage right now following the 49ers 2023 draft. GTFO. Get the off the football. What the hell is going on? What does this mean? Because this had a big impact on the 49ers draft. Well, we can explain. This has a lot to do with the 49ers pick of edge rusher Robert Beal Jr. out of Georgia. And yesterday, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan explained the draft process of Robert Beal, which involves a relationship with Georgia head coach Kirby Smart. Let's listen in as they explain the new GTFO metric. This is definitely something that you should become familiar with if you follow the 49ers.
Beal's a really, really gifted athlete. I want to, you rely a lot on relationships in this thing. And Kirby Smart's been good to us. He's got a lot of players. Kirby was a safety and we kind of bonded over that. But, Kirby said someone's going to get a really gifted and talented player if they just let this guy hunt QBs and set edges. And when he said that, that's exactly what we do. He's not really good at going back and all that stuff. He could do it, but what Kirby said there really resonated. Our eyes saw the same thing. Ran a 4.47 so he adds speed. He's in the 6'3", range, but he's got 34 and 5-inch, so he's got that length you look for.
GTFO.
That's right. Our analytics, see if anyone can guess. We have I tell our analytics guys all the time, Plonsky and his crew, go watch the coaches, get in there, and let's come up with measurables that are what we coach. And GTFO is something Chris Kasarik is always screaming. You guys know what it is? Yeah. Okay. So he had the highest GTFO grade in the draft. So we're really fired up about that.
Can I ask a GTFO, Paul? I mean, how do you assess that? Is it the first guy who's off the line of scrimmage? Do you look at the 10-yard split? I mean,
That's what we look as coaches, but analytics, I have no clue how they do that stuff. They know, like,
It's within the first 2 yards is what we're measuring. And, they've come up with a way to measure that, and Beal's right at the top of it. So it's something, we're always talking about getting length and explosion out of that stance, and Beal's a guy who kind of embodies that. The other unique thing that you get from Beal, and I think it really helps on game day, we dress a lot of D linemen. He's a guy who can help you a lot in special teams as well because he can really run, and he's really good in space. So kind of a unique ability. When you get a D lineman who can do that, it's an added bonus.
When it comes to Beal, can you expand on the GTFO factor and just the 2-yard burst that he showed you guys?
Yeah, the GTFO is something that our R&D group came up with, and really just mimicking what Coach Kasarik wants. And you guys know what the acronym means, or I assume you know, but and it's something we look for, and it's something they measure, and they do a great job of that. And when you get to the later rounds and you see guys like him stand out on that, and then it matches up with his 40 and all the different athletic measurements, it's something that separated him from the other guys at that point in the board.
All right, there you have it. The GTFO score, Robert Beal Jr. off the charts. Number one in the entire NFL, the 49ers developed a proprietary analytic. This is a great example of the bond between the 49ers coaching staff and the scouting department. The scouting department is literally creating metrics that quantify what the coaching staff wants. And remember that Adam Peters said this was the most collaborative draft process yet between the coaching staff and the scouting department. Here, let's have a look at the spider chart for Robert Beal Jr. As you can see, the 40-yard dash, elite, 98th percentile. The 10-yard split, really good, 70th percentile. But as John Lynch explained, GTFO, the metric for Chris Kasarik, is a way to measure get off within the first 2 yards. So they likely electronically measure what's going on within the first 2 yards. They can analyze film, obviously, because they're not at every one of Robert Beal Jr.'s games. They analyze the film get off, and they analyze the reaction time. I'm guessing it is a function of both reaction time and burst of the line of scrimmage. And again, Robert Beal Jr., here's his spider chart. This does imply that he's going to be able to get length immediately. Oops, off the line of scrimmage. We got to go back to Robert Beal Jr. Accidentally clicked out of the page, but it does imply that they're going to be able to get length immediately with the really long arm length. The tradition is whenever I do arm length I show you the wingspan. I have a long wingspan too, but I'm not Robert Beal Jr. So you get that length just from sheer physical size, and then you get the burst from the athleticism and athleticism there. So if GTFO is a function of both, Robert Beal Jr. obviously has the tools to have a good GTFO metric, and he has topped the charts. You know, they also talked about Robert Beal Jr. being emblematic of the special teams ticket. Well, this is key right here. If anything, the pick is worth it because he's so big, fast, and strong that he could be a contributor right away on special teams. A lot of people wondering why the 49ers didn't draft an offensive lineman. Well, there wasn't an offensive lineman available that made sense, that they coveted enough to use a draft pick on, that would have unseated somebody else on the 53-man roster. And it's a lot harder for an O lineman to unseat a player on the 53-man roster because O linemen typically cannot be good special teams contributors. But somebody like Robert Beal Jr., yeah, technically he's a D lineman, but he runs a 4.47 40. He's blazing fast. GTFO rating through the roof. He'll be able to be a missile on special teams. Even in the worst case scenario, that athleticism can come through on special teams for the 49ers. So he's emblematic of the special teams ticket that I think is really important for this draft class. When you're picking players for a team that's loaded, that's already stacked with its roster, guys have to earn their way through special teams. Perhaps it's fitting that Jake Moody was one of the 49ers' top picks because he's obviously going to earn his way through special teams as a kicker. But these other guys, they're not drafted to be starters right away. They're drafted to contribute right away. Depth along offense and defense, but special teams prowess immediately. And Robert Beal Jr., with a good-looking spider chart like this one in the 5th round, that means that the 49ers are going to be counting on him for special teams early. But as Kirby Smart said, they're also going to be counting on him to pin his ears back, roar after the rusher in the wide 9. This defensive scheme loves those fast edge rushers. They give their edge rushers extra space because they're elongated along the wide 9. Run around the tackle or set a hard edge. Those are the two things they ask you to do. Now, Georgia was loaded, right? The Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart. It's a good thing the 49ers have a relationship with him. John Lynch, safety. Kirby Smart, former safety, played for the Colts in 1999. But you want a relationship with Kirby Smart because that team is the best college football team in the nation. They're pumping out NFL players every single season. The 49ers didn't have any really valuable high picks this year, but they had third rounders, they had fifth rounders, and they're able to use one on Robert Beal Jr., and they got some good intel from Kirby Smart. Because Georgia was so loaded, they had to use Robert Beal was he was kind of a forgotten man on that defensive line. Probably wasn't used in a way that best accentuated his skill set. It might have helped Georgia's team the most. But with the 49ers, the way that their defensive line is built with Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, they can take this spider chart. They can take Robert Beal's GTFO score, the top in the NFL out of all these draftees. They can take that GTFO score and they could plug and play him to be a rip-roaring edge rusher while Bosa, Armstead, and Hargrave all occupy blocks. Double teams going other directions, one-on-one for Robert Beal Jr. Put the athleticism to the test. That's why the 49ers look at guys that score well in this metric. So get to know it. GTFO and the 49ers. That is the metric of the day. The 49ers applied it really well. Emblematic of so much that happened in this draft between the coaching staff and the front office, the scouting department. They all got along really well, and it all culminated in this pick with Robert Beal Jr. Plus the relationships with the college coaches, John Lynch's relationship with Kirby Smart. So hopefully you learned a little bit from this video because this is explaining how the 49ers operate.